All right, so for this problem, we have a blue bolt that's holding together two pieces of metal that are being pulled apart by 1,000 pounds of force on each piece of metal. And then the problem asks us to find the shear stress in the bolt. Now, so far when we've talked about stress, we've been using the variable sigma. So sigma is what's called the normal stress. It's the stress caused by a force acting perpendicular to an area. However, this time we're asking for shear stress, which is given the symbol tau, and that's the stress due to a force acting parallel to an area. So what we're looking at is, imagine that you had this bolt holding these two pieces of metal together, and you just pulled harder and harder and harder and harder on the metal, right? Whereas earlier we had problems where we had blocks and we were pulling them apart, you would imagine them breaking by cracking in half down the middle like that, where that crack is perpendicular to the force. However, this time, if you pull more and more and more on these metals with this bolt, it's going to crack right here as you pull the top part of the bolt away from the bottom. And you can see now that that red crack is parallel to the force vectors that are pulling on it, right? And so that's how we know that this is a shear stress and not a normal stress. So therefore, while earlier we were taking cross-sectional areas that were perpendicular to the forces acting on them, now we need to take a cross-sectional area that's parallel to the forces. So in that case, it's going to be this cross-sectional area of the bolt along which it's going to shear by that red line. All right, so if we want to find that, we know that area, pi times diameter squared over 4, is going to be pi times the diameter of the blue bolt, 0.25 inches squared all over 4. And we get that that area is 0.049 inches squared. So then at that point, shear stress, the equation for shear stress is the same as the equation for normal stress. It's just force divided by area. So we have 1,000 pounds of force of shear pulling against our bolt divided by 0.049 inches squared gives us a shear stress of 20,372 psi.